Hey everyone, so today we are working on these two nightstands that were brought to us. It kind of has a DIY marbled type look to it, so we don't know the condition of the wood underneath, so let's figure it out. We are starting off with our Festool sander with a 120 grit, and then we will be going in with a 180 grit. So far, as I'm starting off with the 120 grit, I can already see the layers coming off. I see the top layer of this glaze coming off, and then I can see a red stain and a little bit of a brown stain. And then finally I can see the bare wood. So now I know it's a lighter wood that we're going to be working with, and she wants to do a walnut stain. So I think that so far this is going to look good as long as the trim pieces match the top. With sanding, one thing I always like to do is with the 120, the more aggressive grit, I'm going to try to get most of the finish off, but I'm going to save the edges and the finishing sanding for a 180 grit, just so that I don't risk going through the veneer on this top. So right here is when I have switched over to the 180, and I'm being very careful going over these edges just to make sure that I don't go through the veneer. And since I am working with a veneer top, that kind of tells me that there is a good chance that the trim pieces around are going to be a different type of wood, because a lot of times they do a veneer top and then a real wood on the trim pieces. And if that is the case, then I may run into an issue, and I can already see it peeking through on the side and on the front piece that it is a much lighter wood than the larger veneer top. The reason that this could be a problem is because all wood takes stain a little bit differently, and you see I have two different types of wood, which means the same color stain is going to look completely different on the different types of wood, and it's going to be very noticeable. Now I can see why they had a very dark, kind of a marbled glaze look to blend the two woods together. But I'm going to try to make sure that we use a stain to kind of blend it together without having to add all that extra product onto it. So what we're going to do is we're going to start with walnut, because that is the color that she had requested, and we're going to put it onto the veneer top, and we're also going to put it onto the edges just to see what we're working with, and then we are going to go from there to figure out our next steps. Her inspiration pick that she gave us was one of our old pieces, so we knew the look that she was going for, and we knew that she would be very happy with the top. And so now we have the challenge of just making the whole thing look how the veneer top looks. So we're going to apply the stain to the trim pieces, and don't worry, we're going to be painting the base of this and removing that seashell, so it's okay if a little bit of stain gets on there. But as we were afraid of, this looks terrible, and we are starting to get a little bit nervous, but notice the red tint over the main area. So what we're going to do is we're going to go in with hickory. So we started with walnut on the top, and we're going in with hickory on the trim because hickory has a lot more red in it. So we're going to use a foam brush, and we're going to apply the hickory to the trim pieces, and we're going to make sure that we don't get it onto the part that we had already stained, and we're going to go in with a little chip brush just to make sure that we get all of the excess stain out of these little grooves. Then we will wipe back with a rag, and then we will wait to see what it looks like when it dries. It typically lightens up over time, and so we're going to just wait and pause for a little bit and just let it do its thing. So the trick with blending two different woods is that you want to start with the area that you're going to focus on and stain that one first, and then you're going to look at the base color. So when we looked at the two pieces, we knew that the top looked a lot more red, so that's why we went in with a red stain. And now you can kind of see a before and after on the right corner. You can see where we have stained, and now we're going to be going on to the front, which has a little bit onto the top. So this is going to be the part that's going to be very noticeable if we missed. If the top looked a little bit more brown and the other one looked a little bit more white, we would have changed our stain color to have a color more focused on the brown, such as like a walnut or a provincial. Typically, the trim pieces are a little bit darker than the top, so if we're going to miss one way, we want to miss a little bit darker onto the sides and see if we can blend it in a little bit better that way. That's going to be a lot easier to work with than the edges are. So this is what it looks like after we have applied the stain, and we're going to top coat it, and already I'm very pleased with how it looks. There are some darker areas in the natural grain on the top, so it blends in very well with the trim pieces, but not perfectly. But after we did the top coat, look at the difference. We're so happy with how it turned out. You would never know that these were two different pieces. It even has the color variation in the top and then on the front edge of the trim, and it looks so good. To finish up the piece, we painted it cotton knit on the bottom, and we removed and filled the seashell detail, and this is our after look, and we are so pleased with how it turned out. Again, this was the before with the dark marbled look in the seashell, and this is the after, the walnut top and the cotton knit base without the seashell. If you like these videos, make sure you like and subscribe for more. Thank you.